What if you could make someone miss you deeply without begging, texting, or even saying a word? What if the secret wasn't in what you do, but in what you don't do? The answer lies in the hidden workings of the human mind, and one of history's greatest psychologists, Carl Jung, uncovered the exact psychological forces that make someone ache for your presence. This isn't about games or manipulation. It's about understanding how the unconscious mind creates longing and how you can use that knowledge to become unforgettable. Have you ever noticed how the people who occupy your thoughts the most aren't always the ones who demand your attention? Sometimes, it's the person who lingers in the background, the one who feels just out of reach, who leaves the deepest imprint on your mind. Carl Jung, the pioneer of analytical psychology, revealed that human attraction and attachment are deeply tied to the unconscious, the part of the mind we aren't fully aware of, yet it drives our emotions, desires, and even who we miss. Jung discovered that when we interact with others, we're not just responding to who they are, we're also projecting our own unmet needs, fantasies, and unresolved emotions onto them. This is why absence, mystery, and even silence can amplify someone's longing for you in ways words never could. But here's the catch: most people get this wrong. They chase, they over-explain, they try to force connection, and in doing so, they erase the very tension that makes them desirable. Jung's work shows us a different path. By understanding concepts like projection, the shadow, and individuation, you can create a pull so powerful that someone feels your absence even when you're nowhere near them. In this video, we'll dive into 4 psychological strategies rooted in Jung's teachings, strategies that don't require you to say a word, but will leave a lasting imprint on someone's mind. These aren't cheap tricks. They're deep shifts in how you show up, how you withdraw, and ultimately, how you become someone who can't be forgotten. The psychology of missing someone. Carl Jung believed that much of human desire operates beneath the surface, in the unconscious. One of his most profound insights was the idea of projection, the mind's tendency to attribute our own unacknowledged feelings, desires, and fears onto others. When you interact with someone, they aren't just seeing you, they're seeing a reflection of their own unmet needs, hidden fantasies, and unresolved emotions. This is why some people become inexplicably drawn to others without fully understanding why. If you embody qualities someone secretly admires, confidence, mystery, freedom, they will project meaning onto you, making you far more compelling in their mind than you might actually be. The less you explain yourself, the more room their unconscious has to fill in the gaps, often in your favor. But projection works both ways. If you chase, over-explain, or make yourself too available, you shrink the space for their imagination. Instead of seeing you through the lens of their own longing, they see only what you show them, and often, that's not nearly as captivating. Jung's theory suggests that the key to being missed lies not in demanding attention, but in becoming a mirror for what someone already desires. Human beings are wired to want what they can't have. This isn't just a cliché, it's a psychological law. The scarcity principle, studied extensively in behavioral psychology, states that people assign more value to things that are rare, fleeting, or just out of reach. When you disappear, strategically or authentically, you trigger a primal response, the fear of loss. Jung's concept of the shadow, the repressed, unconscious parts of ourselves, explains why this works so powerfully. When you withdraw, you create an emotional void. The other person's mind, seeking resolution, starts to fill that void with questions. Why are they gone? Do they not care? Did I lose them? This internal tension makes your presence felt even in your absence. But there's a crucial distinction here. This isn't about playing games or giving the silent treatment out of spite. True scarcity works because it's rooted in genuine independence. When someone senses that you're not orbiting their world, that you have a life beyond them, their unconscious registers you as someone valuable, someone worth missing. Have you ever noticed how the most memorable stories are the ones that leave certain questions unanswered? Our brains are wired to seek closure, and when we don't get it, we obsess. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. the tendency to remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. Jung's theories align perfectly with this idea. He believed that emotions left unresolved create an imprint in the unconscious, lingering far longer than neatly concluded experiences. If every interaction with you feels complete, no mystery, no tension, no open loops, there's nothing for the mind to revisit. But if you leave room for curiosity, a conversation paused mid-story, a shared moment that wasn't fully dissected, their psyche will keep returning to you, trying to finish the experience. This is why the people who haunt our thoughts aren't always the ones who gave us the most. They're the ones who left us wanting just a little more. By mastering the art of the unresolved, you ensure that your absence isn't just noticed, it's felt. The human psyche is wired to seek familiarity, yet it's irresistibly drawn to what remains just beyond full understanding. This paradox lies at the heart of making someone miss you, and Carl Jung's work reveals how to master this delicate balance. When you become a mirror, you tap into one of the most powerful forces in human connection, the anima and animus. These archetypes represent the unconscious feminine and masculine aspects we all carry, and when someone recognizes these hidden parts of themselves reflected in you, it creates an almost magnetic pull. This isn't about imitation or losing yourself, but rather about subtle alignment. Notice how they express themselves, what values they hold dear, and which emotions they struggle to voice. By mirroring these elements with authenticity, you create a profound sense of being understood at a soul level, something so rare it becomes unforgettable. There's extraordinary power in what remains unspoken. Jung's concept of the shadow, those repressed aspects of ourselves we try to ignore, explains why strategic withdrawal can be so effective. When you pull back your energy, you create space for the other person's unconscious to fill the gap. This isn't about playing games or punishing with silence, but about maintaining healthy boundaries and emotional independence. The moments you're not there become just as significant as when you are present. Your absence stops being emptiness and transforms into a presence of its own, one that lingers in their mind. This dynamic works because the human mind is wired to complete patterns, and when the pattern of your consistent presence breaks, their psyche rushes in to fill that space with thoughts of you. Mystery isn't about being cryptic or dishonest, it's about understanding the power of gradual revelation. Jung distinguished between the persona, the mask we show the world, and the true self, our complete, complex identity. Most people make the mistake of revealing everything too quickly, leaving no room for discovery. By allowing yourself to unfold slowly, like a compelling story with more chapters yet to be read, you create psychological depth that begs to be explored. This could mean leaving some thoughts unspoken, allowing certain conversations to remain open-ended, or maintaining aspects of your life that exist beyond their full knowledge. The key is that what's withheld isn't hidden out of fear, but preserved as natural layers of a multifaceted personality. People miss what continues to surprise and intrigue them. The ultimate secret to being missed lies in what Jung called individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your most complete, authentic self. This isn't about changing to make someone else care, but about evolving into someone whose energy is inherently compelling. When you commit to your own growth, you emit a quiet confidence that others can't ignore. Your passions, your boundaries, and your self-assurance create a gravitational pull. People begin to miss not just what you do for them, but who you are at your core. This is why those who chase others less are often chased more. They've become complete unto themselves, and that wholeness is irresistible. The more you focus on developing your talents, your mind, and your inner world, the more others will feel the richness of your presence even when you're apart. Your absence becomes noticeable not because you've strategically disappeared, but because your presence has become genuinely valuable. These principles work because they speak to fundamental human needs, the need to feel deeply understood, the thrill of discovery, the magnetic pull of self-realized individuals. They transcend romantic relationships and apply to all meaningful connections. When you implement them, you're not manipulating emotions but engaging with the natural ways human attachment forms and deepens. The result is relationships where your presence is appreciated and your absence is felt, not because you've demanded it, but because you've become someone truly worth missing. This is the paradox Jung reveals. The way to occupy someone's mind isn't to force your way in, but to become someone their mind naturally returns to. One of the quickest ways to sabotage any chance of being missed is by falling into the trap of neediness. There's a fundamental psychological truth at play here. Neediness repels, while self-contained energy attracts. When you constantly seek reassurance, demand attention, or mold yourself to fit someone else's expectations, you're essentially handing over your emotional power. This doesn't create longing, it creates burden. People can sense desperation at an instinctual level, and it triggers avoidance rather than affection. The irony is that the more you try to force someone to miss you through excessive contact or emotional demands, the more you push them away. True magnetic presence comes from being complete within yourself first. When you're comfortable with silence, when you don't panic at temporary distance, you demonstrate a security that's inherently attractive. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's about genuinely having enough going on in your own life that you don't need someone else to validate your worth. The opposite extreme, feigning indifference, is equally ineffective. Some people misinterpret psychological principles as advice to play games or adopt a cold demeanor. This artificial aloofness usually backfires because human beings are remarkably perceptive at detecting inauthenticity. When you pretend not to care when you actually do, you create confusion rather than connection. The most compelling people aren't those who hide their interest, but those who express it freely while maintaining their own center of gravity. There's a world of difference between being authentically engaged in your own life, which creates natural space, and pretending you don't care, which creates emotional dishonesty. People miss what feels real to them, not performances or facades. The sweet spot lies in being warmly present when engaged, but perfectly content when apart. This balance is what makes your absence noticeable in a way that draws people back. Perhaps the most important boundary to maintain is the line between psychological understanding and manipulation. These principles lose their power the moment they're used as tactics rather than emerging from genuine self-development. Manipulation might create short-term results, but it always collapses under its own weight because it's built on false pretenses. When you try to artificially create longing through tricks or mind games, you're not actually becoming someone worth missing, you're just temporarily obscuring your true self. The strategies we've discussed only work when they're reflections of your authentic personal growth. People don't just miss actions or calculated behaviors, they miss essences, energies, and authentic connections. The healthiest and most lasting form of being missed comes when someone genuinely values who you are, not what you pretended to be to get their attention. At its core, making someone miss you isn't about changing their mind. It's about becoming someone whose presence is genuinely meaningful, so that your absence is naturally felt. This distinction makes all the difference between creating temporary interest and fostering lasting connection. The principles we've explored today reveal a profound truth about human connection. What makes you unforgettable isn't force or pursuit, but the subtle art of psychological presence. By becoming a mirror that reflects someone's deeper self, you create an undeniable bond. Through strategic withdrawal of your energy, you allow absence to speak louder than constant attention ever could. Cultivating mystery keeps you alive in their imagination, while focusing on your own individuation transforms you into someone inherently worth returning to. These aren't tricks, they're timeless psychological truths about how attraction and attachment truly work. Now it's your turn to put these insights into practice. Which of these 4 principles resonated with you most? Will you begin by exploring the mirroring technique, or perhaps experiment with the power of strategic silence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear which approach you're most excited to try and what results you notice. If you found this dive into Jungian psychology valuable, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We explore the hidden forces that shape relationships, behavior, and self-mastery, helping you build connections that are as meaningful as they are magnetic. Until next time, remember, the most powerful presence is often felt most deeply in its absence. See you in the next video.